I'd rather have less clients, but better long-term clients. Clients that we can create, grow together type of partnerships. When you grow, we grow. I would say a big thing for 2025 is external traffic. That's something that we're putting a lot of emphasis on with our clients, whatever we can to push external traffic to Amazon.
Are you making content for the brands? Are the brands partnering with affiliates or influencers?
We're doing a lot of influencer marketing for our clients, like TikTok Shop, that kind of stuff. We are getting sales on TikTok Shop directly, but we're definitely seeing a big halo effect of branded searches to Amazon as well.
E-commerce is the greatest business opportunity of our generation. What is up, people? Welcome back to another episode of the Ecom Unlimited podcast. It's your boy Kaj here with my co-host Josh.
What's going on, everybody?
And we are multi-seven-figure Amazon sellers that have been in the game for almost 10 years now, which is crazy to say. We started this business in college, started the podcast about 2 years ago, and we're inching up to episode 100, which is a lot of fun. Thank you guys for all of the listens, for sticking with us, for trusting us with your attention, and for also coming up to us randomly at conferences like Sellers United and Miami Sellers Conference, being like, I listened to the podcast, which is crazy. Still, even though this is a small podcast, when we get recognized from people who've been listening to us for 2 years, so we sincerely appreciate it. Now, I wanted to quickly shout out the sponsor of today's episode. That is SellerSnap. They are our repricer of choice that is based on AI and game theory, and they are hands down the most powerful repricer on the market. They avoid price tanking, help you stay in the buy box longer, as well as increase your profits. Pricing on Amazon is one of the most important levers you can pull that directly impacts your bottom line. So if you do not have a good repricer, it is actually losing you money. Now, if you want to try out SellerSnap, you can get a free 15-day trial as well as 10% off your first 3 months using the code Robinson at checkout or by clicking the link in the description. SellerSnap also recently came out with some new features called Data Hub that gives you competitor analysis as well as profitability analytics, and they also have some new introductory pricing offers. So guys, I highly, highly recommend that you try out SellerSnap if you're not already using them, and also book a free onboarding call with their team to learn how to best use the tool. With that, let's get back to the episode. Today, we have a guest on that I met out in Seattle for Amazon Accelerate. He's based in Salt Lake City, which is a city I frequent often because my siblings live out there. So we were actually on the flight out to Seattle together. Andy Isom. Andy, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, man. So let's just dive right in. I'm assuming that most of our listeners probably aren't familiar with you since you're more from like the private label space, as well as the agency. So maybe just give a quick background as to how you got into e-commerce, whether it was with your private label brand first or the agency. And I'm also just genuinely curious myself, and then we'll take the conversation from there.
Yeah, a quick backstory of kind of how I got into e-commerce. I've also been in the game for about 10 years or so. I'd say 2015 really is when I kind of got into e-commerce. My first venture into e-commerce was actually in dropshipping. So I was part of the 2014-15 dropshipping on Shopify with AliExpress craze. I started a fishing store. I was dropshipping fishing gear. I love fishing, by the way, so that was kind of the reason behind that. I quickly learned that drop shipping $3 and $5 fishing lures with Facebook ads was not going to be super sustainable long term. I was generating a lot of sales, but I was not really making much money. So I ended up selling that store. And then it was around that same time that I discovered Amazon FBA. I was also still in college at the time. So 2015, I discovered Jungle Scout, that software for doing product research if you're a private label, trying to sell your own branded products. And I was dabbling with that a little bit while I was still in college. And I was finding some product ideas. I was even ordering some samples from China. But once I kind of got further down that path, I realized I was going to need a few $1,000s to order inventory, launch my product, my brand. And again, I was broke. I was going to college. I was playing baseball, so I didn't have a job. My wife was playing soccer. She didn't have a job. We had literally no money. So we kind of had to put that on the back burner. graduated college 2016. I was still doing a lot of side hustling stuff. I was doing a lot of affiliate marketing, creating content on YouTube, talking a lot about online business. I was talking about my dropshipping experience. I was doing blogging, like I said, affiliate marketing. And then the opportunity arose again in 2018 with an e-commerce brand. So we partnered with our neighbors, and in 2019 we launched a pet brand on Amazon, and then we launched our own Shopify store too. And that became very successful. I think the timing of it was really good. It was right before the COVID boom. We were selling pet products, dog products. So there was a nice boom there from COVID. And a lot of my followers, listeners from my content that I was already creating before this were starting to ask about Amazon, like Amazon FBA, private label. Like, how do you do this? How are you finding all the success? What's the strategy? So I kind of shifted my content more towards Amazon FBA stuff. And then in 2020, I decided to start a dedicated podcast. And yeah, I've been podcasting for 5 years now for my Amazon private label e-commerce business. I talk about a lot of stuff now. I just released episode 517, I think, yesterday. It's crazy. I did not think I was going to be able to talk when I first launched my podcast. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to keep talking about Amazon. I actually recorded an 8-episode miniseries at the time. The full A to Z. Here's how you do Amazon private label. Listen to these 8 episodes. You'll know everything. And then people kept asking, like, Andy, you need to record more podcasts. I was done. I stopped for 4 months. And then again, finally, I gave in. I was like, all right, I guess I'll keep recording some episodes. And yeah, 500 episodes later, I'm like, I don't know how I keep coming up with content, but here we are. So I've been doing that for 5 years. That led into a lot of consulting, coaching. So I've coached over 250 people to launch their own private label brands. And then in 2023, I kind of shifted more into the agency side of things. I saw a lot of people who launched private label brands during COVID. 2020 to 2023, huge boom of people launching brands. And now there was a ton of people who needed help managing it. So I was getting a lot of demand for like, hey, Andy, do you do PPC management? Can you help me manage my brand? I was throwing a lot of referrals out to other agencies. A lot of my students were not seeing very great results with some of those other agencies. And so I kind of just gave in. I never really had a plan to launch an agency. I just gave in to the demand, launched my own agency, built out a great team. And now we have, I've got like 16, 17 clients, I think, right now, full account management clients. And then we have dozens others that we work with on like a smaller scale. So yeah, that's kind of my little history there.
That's super
Love it.
cool. But now,
back in the days when you were still focusing on PL, what was like the biggest that you got the PL brand to?
We were pushing, we surpassed 7 figures. Yeah.
How many SKUs, just out of curiosity?
Over 100 SKUs.
Holy moly.
And then like, how long did that take, like in total?
How long, like to launch the brand or?
Yeah, like launch to like, getting 100 SKUs and all that kind of stuff.
We were pretty consistent over the first 5-6 years of launching new SKUs every 2 months or so. So yeah, like every 2 to 3 months we were launching 2 or 3 new SKUs. So yeah, just like staying consistent. And honestly, that's a huge lesson to people who, I feel like this applies to any Amazon business model, whether you're doing wholesale, arbitrage, private label. I've preached this motto to my students on my podcast for 5 years now. More marketing, more SKUs. Like that's the name of the game. You see these people if you're listening and you see these people on social media that are like, I'm selling $1 million, I'm selling $10 million. I follow a lot of people in the space who do very, very well on Amazon. Most of the people who you see who are pushing big numbers like that, 10 million a year, 50 million a year, they just have a ton of SKUs. Like it's just more SKUs, more SKUs, more SKUs, and then more marketing behind it. That's really the secret to this game.
Interesting. Did you have a lot of issues with when COVID came up, with like being able to like get products in, and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, we definitely faced the similar type of COVID challenges that I feel like pretty much any retailer faced, with factories shutting down for months, ports shutting down. And I feel like there's just been a lot of other crazy stuff that's happened over the last 5 or 6 years, even in the aftermath of COVID. There's been port strikes. There's been the tariff thing. That's what we dealt with 2025. The theme of 25 is tariffs, especially if you're a private label
Yep.
seller sourcing products in China. So yeah, there's been tons of headaches, hurdles, roadblocks that we've had to overcome. It seems like every year.
Now, was the agency kind of started first, or was the brand started first?
Oh, we definitely launched the brand first. Yeah, the brand was back
Okay,
in like 2018, and then I
gotcha.
launched the agency in 2023.
Gotcha. Okay, very nice. And currently, how many? Oh, I guess I don't know. If you don't, if you don't want to discuss some things, that's fine. But like, could you give us an idea of like how big this agency is? Because I would like to talk about like key roles is in an agency and kind of how an agency works. When you're the founder, can you kind of give us an idea of potentially like how big this agency is?
Yeah, we have so in total like right now in total we're servicing around 50 clients. But of those 50 clients, uh about let's call it half of them, probably 20ish or so, are what I would classify as like a full service account management client. That's where we're managing their entire backend. So we're managing their entire Amazon Seller Central, their ads, their listings, their pricing, their optimization, case seller support. Basically, we are their full-time Amazon employee almost.
Gotcha.
We also do management for people on TikTok Shop. We manage people's products on Walmart.com. And then the other half of the clients, like I said, is we're like a custom agency basically. That's the benefit of being what I call a smaller boutique agency is we don't have a super huge corporate structure. I don't have 400 clients like some of the other bigger agencies where everything is super like I don't know, cut and dry on like what they offer. We can very much customize and cater to whatever our client needs. So if it's just PPC, we can do that. If it's just product development and sourcing, we can do that. If it's just content, we do a ton of content work for people. Product photography, image editing, A+ content editing, and that's all we do for certain clients. So we have some multi-million-dollar brands that we just do content for them. So yeah, there's projects that come in and out the door that are maybe a 1-month project, and then maybe even just like a one-time fix. We do a lot of that for people too, where they have an issue that they don't know how to solve in Seller Central with the listing being suspended or whatnot. We come in, solve the issue, and then they go on their way.
Gotcha. Very cool. Now, kind of, when you're starting this agency, you start out, more clients start to pile in. What's like if someone's going to go to start an agency and they want to look just try to scale it, what's one of like the first hires that you would suggest that they get? Like what took a lot of like load off your chest as you started this agency?
I think the biggest key to the success of my agency, at least, was partnering with the right person from the get-go. So I actually partnered with someone who had been running an Amazon agency for over 5 years. So I wasn't really going out like by myself, starting from scratch, hiring, every single person as part of the agency. I partnered someone who had been running an agency, knew everything about it, already kind of had a lot of the back end team in place. And then I let them basically do a lot of the back end operations. So they do all the HR, they do all the hiring, my business partner. And then I do a lot of the strategy with our clients, but I also do a lot of like the front end, obviously, like marketing, content creation, sales calls with clients. So that was definitely the biggest key is partnering with someone who knew how to run an agency, let them handle the ops part of an agency team,
Yeah.
and then I could focus on what I do best, which is the content, the connecting with clients, that part of it.
Gotcha. And just to give a little bit of an idea of what it looks like to run an agency on the back end, you kind of talked about connecting with clients. How often do you connect with clients?
Um, I guess it depends on the client. I have some clients that I'm messaging with them. So we use Slack, by the way. Just this is very common. Like a lot of agencies will use Slack for communication. I have some clients that I'm messaging almost daily. I have clients that I do calls with almost weekly. And then I have other clients that honestly, my team can handle it and I can be, for the most part, hands off. With a lot of my clients too, especially a new client, I'm pretty involved in the early stages for like, the first month, 2, 3 months. And then once me and the team are very comfortable with their products, their branding, their goals, what they're trying to achieve, the team does a great job from there. So really it kind of gets to a relationship where clients are doing calls directly with their account managers or with my team. And I don't really even need to be super involved on the front end. On the back end, I'm always involved because we're always doing weekly meetings, talking about client strategies and whatnot. But yeah, it really just depends on the client.
Sure. And then could you just label like in terms of like, I guess, designated roles that employees might have that might just kind of like stack down, kind of like, of importance? If you could give us like the like 4 kind of positions that you see, or there might be less.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm the owner of my agency, Weavos, and then I have my partner who basically leads the entire operations team. So he manages our team leads. So we have some team leads, usually 2 or 3 team leads, I would say, at least for an agency of our side or our size. The team leads manage the account managers. So team leads are checking in with the account managers, and then the account managers manage the brands. So they're doing all the back end work, managing the ads, the Amazon Seller Central, and then we have like specific specific account managers for certain tasks like editors, product research, certain parts of the private label process like that as well.
Nice.
Question I have from like high level strategy perspective for a brand that, well, let me not make it too specific in terms of what they're dealing with, but a brand that's looking for an agency for whatever reason. What is the advantage of a brand partnering with an agency versus trying to just hire internally? And I'm curious to get your perspective on this as someone who's launched private label successfully, coached other people, has an agency. Because for me, I used to be anti-agency, but that was just because, so for what we do with the brand partnership, a lot of the brands we talk to are brands who've been burned by agencies. But then that's just probably because they were working with a bad agency. Then once you realize they're actually good agencies, it's like, okay, it's like all agencies are created equal. But I'm curious your perspective on that question.
Yeah, that's a very common question in brand owner agency world. I think the biggest benefit to an agency versus like hiring an employee is the collaborative approach. If you hire like your own private employee, and that could be like, someone in office, like if you're in the US, stateside, they come into your office, full-time salary, that whole thing. Or it could be an independent contractor overseas. You go hire someone on Upwork from the Philippines or wherever to manage. But with an agency, we have a whole team. So we have, 15 different people all managing different accounts with different experiences. So we all collaborate with all of our different brands and accounts and share ideas. Here's what's working for this brand. Here's what's not working over here. What should I do? I'm stuck. And then there's a lot of cross collaboration there with that allows you to, find success for a client. Versus if you have one employee, they're kind of on their own. Like if they don't know what to do, if they get stuck and you don't know how to help them, you're kind of all just scratching your head.
What are some of the things that you guys have found that are working right now for those brands out of that collaborative process, right? Because, working with 50 different clients, I'm sure that's different categories, different niches, also, like you said, different platforms. What are, I don't know, maybe some of the top 2 or 3 things that over the last, let's just say 2025 has been successful across multiple brands?
I would say a big thing for 2025 is external traffic. So being able to push traffic from TikTok, social media to Amazon, that's something that we're putting a lot of emphasis on with our clients is doing whatever we can to push external traffic to Amazon. That's like what the algorithm really, really loves now.
Interesting.
And
Wow.
yeah, and how are you going about implementing that? Is that just telling the brands, hey, you need to post more? Are you making content for the brands? Are the brands partnering with affiliates or influencers?
Yeah, sorry. Good follow-up question there. We're doing a lot of influencer marketing for our clients, like TikTok Shop, that kind of stuff.
And with TikTok Shop, because I've spent a little bit of time looking into TikTok Shop. Are you guys also getting sales on TikTok too, or are you primarily focusing on diverting all of that traffic directly to Amazon?
Both. Yeah, definitely both. We are getting sales directly to TikTok. Excuse me, I was sick all last week, so I'm like trying to keep my voice alive here.
You're good, man. You're good.
We are getting sales on TikTok Shop directly, but we're
Okay.
definitely seeing a big halo effect of branded searches to Amazon as well.
Very interesting.
How do you go about when a brand is kind of has their eyes closed towards, going the TikTok or influencer route? How do you go about trying to convince them that, this is a good idea? This is something that they need to start paying attention to?
I wish I had the answer to that. I genuinely wish I had the answer to that. That is something that it's really hard for people to adopt that because it's a long-term game. Like the influencer marketing is like, a lot of times it's 6 months down the road that you see an ROI from that. And so to try to convince brands like, hey, we need to be sending product samples, we need to be, investing, agency resources into this. It's tough. It's really hard to convince people, other than I guess showing results from other brands.
Yeah. Like case studies and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know me and Kaja, we have brands that we work with, and we're always thinking, it's like, man, if we could just kind of run this product through some influencers, like, man, I think this brand could absolutely explode. But then trying to convince them to put in, the effort of,
Mm-hmm.
either reaching out, contacting, it can be a very, challenging process to try to navigate, and making sure you're actually like kind of reaching out to the right influencer. That would make sense for your brand as well. So okay, very interesting to kind of hear your opinion on that for sure.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about private label. So you mentioned drop shipping, did that the peak waves of the drop shipping days.
Mm-hmm.
And then that kind of transitioned into private label. How did you go about just finding the niche or the product that you guys launched at first? And then how long until the first product that you launched was actually profitable?
That's a really good question. For us, we didn't take the route of like the traditional route of doing Jungle Scout research. Here's a product, let's go sell it. This was a product that we were already making. Like my wife was hand sewing dog bandanas, and we were like getting interest on Instagram and going to a fabric store and like doing custom orders for people. So it was kind of already a product idea that we just kind of found on our own, and then we validated it as, hey, there's a market for this on Amazon as well. And then we went and listed it on Amazon too. So that's a route a lot of people take, is just they've had like their own intuition, their own interest, experience in like a product, and then they see an opportunity to sell it on Amazon.
Yeah, so
Did
you guys already knew there was a product market fit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Got it. Okay.
And I'm assuming you just saw like the sales just start basically just flying in, or did it take a little while to figure out, like placement or ads or something to like boost it up?
I think for us, it was more like, finding like our niche, like finding the customer, the ideal customer, like with designs. Like if you have a design-based product, it's testing, what type of aesthetic, of prints, of designs that people are resonating with. And then once you nail that down, then you're like, okay, we cracked the code. Now we can scale.
And then I'm also assuming that's part of why you guys had a lot of SKUs because it is also design based. So it's
Mhm.
just different sizes, different variations.
Yep, exactly.
Got it. Makes a lot of sense. And were you guys at any point doing Amazon handmade too, or did you start outsourcing your manufacturing?
No, we never did handmade. Everything was outsourced
Okay.
from the beginning. Yeah.
I mean, going to kind of sell this caliber of a private label brand, kind of walk us through what an exit looks like in terms of, time, like, and what challenges you might face, as this period of time, as the due diligence comes up and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so we actually we sold to excuse me, our business partners.
Okay.
So
Oh,
we weren't like we weren't dealing with like a third party with this. So that definitely made it a lot easier. But you still have to like do all the bookkeeping, valuation, due diligence, which can be a pretty long process for sure.
what is that like? Are we talking like 1 month, 2 months, 6 months? What does that kind of look like? Do you know? Or can you talk
Yeah,
about it?
yeah, I mean, for us it was about 6 to 8 months,
Okay.
which
Wow.
after we talked to brokers and stuff, they said that's pretty typical. Like 6 to 9 months of getting all the books squared away, um, your balance sheet, all accounts, any of that kind of stuff, and then negotiations of like the agreement, the deliverables, all that kind of stuff.
Super interesting. At any point, did you feel like not during like this kind of exit that you're going through or have gone through that I don't know if this is even going to work anymore. Like, did you ever have like one of those moments where you're like, man, I don't know, sales are looking a little bit dismal here, or man, these tariffs might like wipe us out. Was there any sort of kind of panic or thoughts about that?
But definitely, yeah, definitely. But again, I kind of feel like there's always uncertainty. Like this year, it's the tariffs. It was COVID a few years ago. In the next 2 years, it'll be probably be something different. So it's like there's always going to be some big hurdle or challenge or whatever that either you or whoever's buying the business or if you're selling the business, whatever, is going to have to overcome. So yeah, definitely there's some doubts there. But I feel like if you're someone who wants to get into this game or you're in this game, you kind of have to be built for that. Like you have to be built to accept that there's going to be those challenges and just have the mindset of like, I'm going to overcome whatever the next challenge is. If it's tariffs, we'll figure out. We'll find a way. If it's COVID that hits again, we'll find a way. Yeah, there definitely are those doubts, but I think you just have to develop that kind of mindset for sure.
The figure out mindset. Pretty much
Mm-hmm.
everything is figure outable.
Exactly.
You just have to be willing to go through the pain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Kind of thinking about the future now. So first, like, what are your goals for the agency? Are you guys in an aggressive growth period? Are you happy with the clients that you have? And then the second question would be, as someone who's been in the space for a decade plus or somewhere around there, like, where do you see Amazon selling in general going moving forward?
Oh yeah, those are a lot of really good questions there. Um, with the agency, I feel like the good thing for me is I'm in this for lifestyle, like everything, like my own brand, the agency, even like my content creation, like everything is for the lifestyle. So I'm not like in crazy, I need to be at 400 clients with the agency by next year. Like I don't really spend money on ads. I don't really do a ton of outreach. It's mainly just like inbound, friends, referrals, people who listen to the podcast. Uh, We have really good retention. So pretty much if someone walks through my door and I like them and I feel like it's a good opportunity and we work together, they're still here. I mean, 2 years ago. I started in October of 23.
Yeah, exactly
Most
2 years.
of the, yeah, most of the clients who have joined me from 2 years ago till now are still with me. So I can be pretty picky. Like I can afford to be really picky about who I work with. And I'm looking for more, I'd rather have less clients, but better long-term clients. Clients that we can create, grow together type of partnerships. When you grow, we grow. So that's what we're really looking for. We're not really looking for like, oh, whoever walks through our door will sign you. I turn a lot of people away. I turn people like, I genuinely don't think that we're a good fit. I mean, you're willing to pay me monthly to manage your brand, but I just don't see this as a good fit. Whereas a lot of other agencies would say like, you're crazy for turning someone away. But again, like because I'm a boutique agency and we're small and, don't have a ton of overhead, I'm not desperate for that money, I guess you could say in a way. So I've got, I had my own brand. I exited it. My wife and I are going to launch a new brand in 2026.
Cool.
I've got my content. So yeah, that's a nice thing is like, I'm not like, I don't know if desperate's the right word, but I'm not super desperate for like crazy growth with my agency as long as I really, really enjoy working with all the clients that I have.
Love that. Yeah, that's a nice place to be where you have gotten to the point where it's giving you the lifestyle that you want and you're not forced to grow. You can if you want to, but you're also like you mentioned, as your clients grow, you kind of grow with them as well. So there's some internal growth just happening naturally by the strength of the partnerships that you have, which is cool.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that's what we really strive for. And I try to make that clear with any client, that I hop on a potential sales call with is, the goal here is when you grow, we grow. Like if we can bring growth to your brand and help you launch new products, that's why I say we do full service is like we do product research, we do sourcing, we do the photography, the content, build the listings, run the ads, like help with influencer marketing. We're incentivized, based on a lot of the agreements and contracts that we have in place with our clients, we're incentivized for you to grow and you become more profitable. Like you reach whatever your goals are and whether like we have a lot of mom and pop brands and then we have big corporate brands with full office buildings and employees. So yeah, I agree. It's definitely a really good place where in the early stages, especially if like this is your sole source of income, you don't have other, revenue streams or whatever. Yeah, you kind of feel like I got to take a client. You got to take everyone. And then you have some bad relationships and you get burned or, you have a lot of, what's the word, churn, right? With your agency where people come and go. And it's just like, it's that constant battle of, I'm going to lose 3 clients this month, so I got to find 3. That's just not the case with our agency. We really focus on hiring the best talent. I'm not saying names here or anything, but I just am familiar with how a lot of agencies operate. A lot of agencies will go find the cheapest talent they can find overseas. The cheapest $5 an hour Philippine VA, put them through some training for 2 months. They'll figure out how to run ads on Amazon. They've never done this. They have no previous experience doing Amazon. And then they'll just purely pump all of their profit into new client acquisition. And so it's just a matter of like, let me go get 20 new clients this month and 15 of them are going to leave, but I'm net positive 5 new clients. And that's their business model. I'm like, that's okay, right? You do you. But for us, we want the best talent. And so we want our clients to walk through the door and be with us for the next 10 years.
I love that model. And that resonates with me a lot more than the aggressive growth, churn and burn kind of style. Question that just popped up from what you said. How have you gone about finding the best talent?
Honestly, like just a lot of the online platforms are really good. LinkedIn is a good place, honestly. Upwork. We have a lot of overseas account managers. Pretty much everyone does. Like that's honestly like one of the only ways to really make it viable, especially in the e-commerce industry where, profit margins are generally slimmer. So yeah, we have a lot of overseas talent, but yeah, we just use kind of a lot of the standard platforms that you would use to find account managers, virtual assistants, that kind of stuff. But again, just the main difference is instead of looking for, all right, who's the cheapest, which is pretty standard for a lot of people to do that. It's like, all right, here's 100 people who know how to, let's say, manage Amazon PPC. Let me talk to these 5 guys who are $5 an hour. We do the complete opposite. I'm like, okay, here's 100 people who put in an application for our position. Who are the most expensive ones? Those are the people I want to talk to. because they know what they're worth. They know they're worth 5 times what the rest of the people, who have applied for the position are charging. And these are people who are, and I hop on a call with some of our account managers, and these are people that we hire that are on my team. They've managed multiple 7-figure brands on Amazon. Like, I can't share this info, but they say, they'll tell me I managed X brand, Y brand, Z brand on Amazon. I'll go check them out. I'll look them up. I'm like, okay, I can see that this brand, you push growth through. I know we have the tools, we have Helium. I can see if they're blowing smoke or not. Then when we validate, put them through kind of the vetting process, we have a kind of like a survey quiz process. We have mandatory training that we do every year at the beginning of the year, kind of during Chinese New Year. But we have a pretty good idea pretty quickly doing interviews, who's legit and who's not. And we put it through a pretty rigorous process. Like, we have multiple steps of Zoom calls, interviews with these account managers. But yeah, basically every senior level account manager, we have senior level and we do have some junior level account managers. I guess I kind of failed to mention this earlier on, but with a lot of our bigger brands, we'll have a senior account manager and then we'll have some junior managers that kind of assist the senior account manager. So it might be 2 or 3 people actually working behind the scenes. And a lot of our clients, I don't want to say they don't know this, but like they're only really talking to their senior account manager or myself or a team lead. But our juniors are in the back, like doing a lot of the stuff. But even our junior account managers, 3 years experience. A lot of our senior account managers are minimum 5 years. Like, if you have not been managing brands on Amazon for at least 5 years, we don't even entertain them. We only want people who really know what they're doing, not training people in a 2-month crash course and handing them a multi-million-dollar brand and say, hopefully you do well.
Yeah, because there's a lot you can screw up very quickly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow.
Okay. And then, Josh, you had something?
No, go ahead, Josh.
I wanted to go back to the question I mentioned a little bit ago. Where do you see the selling on Amazon space going over the next few years? Just as someone who's been in the game for a while.
I mean, private label, I think maybe this applies to all sellers. I'm just speaking, I guess, on private label, but sellers have been getting squeezed for like the past 5 years, right? Every year it's like new fee, increased fee, something's happening that's squeezing our profit margins. I definitely think that Amazon favors Chinese sellers. I mean, it always has. It's always favored that model because, Chinese manufacturers can sell directly on Amazon, kind of cut out us, which would be the middleman, honestly. And so that drives prices down. So that makes it harder, period, to do private label on Amazon, even for 10 years now. But I kind of see it as, with the squeeze of the profit margins, that will continue to happen. The tariffs are squeezing us even harder right now. The people with deeper pockets, let's just say Americans or non-Chinese sellers, people with deeper pockets, more capital, they're going to win and win big. But it's going to be much more difficult for the people who, 5 years ago are like, hey, I want to start a brand with $5,000. Those days are quickly fading away, where you launch with a $5,000 budget, you get profitable on your first run of inventory, you reinvest that profit, launch another product, it's just honestly not really a thing anymore. You can get lucky, find some golden, niches, or really good product. You're a really good product developer, you're a really good social media marketer. But for the average Joe that could have done this 10 years ago and just no experience in e-commerce, no experience with business, sourced a product, slapped up some crappy photos and made money, that's not a thing in the future. Yeah, you're going to want $30,000, $50,000 to launch a product, knowing it could be 12 months, could be 18 months before you're profitable. But the people who do this, they're the ones who are going to build multi-7-figure brands. Basically, the big are going to keep getting bigger. So that's what I see the future, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, private label was unbelievably easy. Obviously, still all challenges, but it's interesting now having been in business and like kind of seeing a full cycle of like, oh, it was like really the golden era of private label in those days.
Oh, yeah.
And then now it's kind of like, all right, that cycle's starting again with AI. It's like things are changing so fast. It's still so new. There's a golden age of like, just for example, doing AI automation B2B. Like that is going to be a golden age that's here for, I don't know how long, maybe a couple years, 3 years, whatever. And then it'll still be a thing, but it's like, all right, it's not like how it was back in the early days. But that doesn't mean the opportunity isn't there. It's just you have to be much more strategic, because in the early days, you could pretty much just throw anything at the wall. And as long as there was people searching for a related search term to that product, you were going to make sales. Now it's just way more competitive, which kind of goes back to what you're saying about that off Amazon traffic. Needed that branding search term volume to get sales as well. So yeah, very good insight.
Yeah, one other thing, sorry to add on there really quickly, is if you're someone who has like a full-time job, like a really good full-time job, like, I don't know, I would say you're probably making over 6 figures from your full-time job. You have some disposable income, which is tough to come by these days, but you have some disposable income that you can set aside a few $1,000s or even a couple $1,000s maybe every month consistently. Almost like a car payment. Like instead of making a $1,200 car payment or whatever, that's going to a business every month. If you have this type of budget or access to capital, or even the risk tolerance to go take out a loan, which I don't recommend, honestly, for most people. But if you can do that, if you're in that position and you have business savvy, like you're a savvy, again, you need to be savvy now. You can't be just like, I have no idea what I'm doing, let me throw a product. No, you gotta have an eye for product development, design. You need to be analytical for, advertising reports and stuff. If that's you and you can set aside that money and invest into your own brand and invest for a year, 2 years even, and just put everything back into the business. You make sales, you make profit, back into the business. Keep putting money into it every month as you can. You definitely can make it in this. Like I would say, honestly, like for those people, like if I described you, your chance of success is probably 80% or higher, I would say, honestly. You would have to kind of really, really suck at like product research or analyzing numbers to screw it up. It's just a matter of capital, having business savvy, and staying consistent long enough. That's it. But
yeah, I mean, it's
for everyone else,
it's the same thing.
Yeah.
I was just saying, it's the same thing we're seeing with people, even like who are doing brand direct. If you're not trying to launch your own brand, but you're trying to partner with brands, like the people who are committed for a year or two, it's like success is almost inevitable.
Oh, yeah.
But if you're trying to get like a flash in the pan these days, it's like, sure, you can get lucky, right? But it's just so much more competitive now that the likelihood of that happening is just lower.
Yep. It's almost like flipped. The flash in the pan, like first product, you're profitable, like in your first run of inventory and your ads are crushing. That's like the opposite, like 20% chance of success, 80% chance of failure.
Yeah. And I feel like you also have to have that like go mentality. You can't stop, you can't pump the brakes. Got to be like, pushing everything you possibly can 24/7, and you'll definitely find success. All right, Andy, where can people go find you on the internet if they want to learn more about agency or private label?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I just tell most people you can just hit up my personal website, just andyisom.com. I've got links to like my content because like I said, I got podcasts, YouTube.
Yeah.
There's links to if you want to do consulting call, if you want to check out my agency, everything is just kind of like a link tree almost.
Okay.
There's buttons on there for all the other stuff that I have. So yeah, andyisom.com. That's the easiest way to find everything.
Awesome. And guys, link will be in the description, so make sure to check that out. And thank you all for listening. Make sure to leave a comment if you have any topics you wanted to discuss in the future. If you're on YouTube, like and subscribe. And if you're on Spotify, follow the podcast so you can stay updated on all of our new content. And we will see you on the next one.